All right, let's kick this thing off. Thank you guys for joining and welcome to tonight's presentation all about the role of immunity. Super hot topic right now, especially with flu season now kicking in and of course the COVID-19 pandemic. So hopefully you guys get a lot out of tonight. And again, I'm going to keep you muted. If you have any questions, go ahead and use the chat function. There will be time allotted at the end of the presentation for Q&A at the end. But if you think of something as we go along, you can always use the chat as well, and I'll try and monitor that the best I can. So my name is Grace Loney, and I'm representing my holistic nutrition company called Gracefully Holistic. And I'm so glad that you've joined me tonight. So some of my credentials, I have bachelor's in biomedical engineering. I am a certified strength and conditioning specialist, which basically means I'm a personal trainer. And I am a certified integrative nutrition health coach. So a lot of things really centered around wellness. And, some people might be asking, well, what makes you, credible enough to deliver a presentation like this? So I think that kind of speaks for itself. And I'll just add to that I really do have an appreciation for biology and the human body. And these credentials kind of showcase that. Maybe except for the MBA. The MBA, I could, probably just shows that I can either use my powers for good or evil. But I'll let you decide at the end of this presentation. But aside from this sort of resume that you see before you, I just wanted to start by telling you my story around immune function and why I care so much about this topic and, why I wanted to share this information with you. And, since my mom is in the meeting, she can totally vouch for me on this. But, I was sick a lot growing up. Every fall and spring, it seemed, I would come down with allergies or the flu or really bad cold. And I'm not talking like a couple days and then I would bounce back. Like I would get sick and I would be sick for like 4 weeks, and to the point where it would usually turn into an infection like bronchitis, and then I'd have to go and get antibiotics to resolve those issues. And this went on for years. I mean, I remember it always being a thing in high school, in college. And the crazy thing is, I thought that was normal. Like I thought, oh, like that's just how I am. I always get sick, and I accepted it as my normal. And then I started to realize, wait, like this isn't normal. I shouldn't be sick all the time. I shouldn't just be getting sick so easily. And it was actually my sister that kind of introduced me to nutrition and a new way of looking at your diet, using things like paleo to help kind of calm down your immune system and really just help my body thrive. And it wasn't until then when I really started to take out a lot of foods that were irritating my body and using food as medicine that I didn't get sick anymore. And honest to God, I haven't gotten sick. I swear, I haven't gotten sick in 3 years, which is like crazy for me because, like I said, I was always sick. It was just a normal thing for me. And since I've really leaned on food as one of the major tools and nutrition, my body has really truly thanked me for that. And I've been able to heal and just feel a lot better, especially when it comes to flu season and allergy season and all of that stuff. So that's why I love to share this information, hoping that, you guys could have a similar experience to what I did. So let's kind of get into it now. And really, by the end of this talk, I just want you to have a true appreciation for your body and all of the things that you're capable of in terms of your defense system, because it really is truly remarkable. And I always like to say that our bodies are the smartest supercomputer, like even more intelligent than IBM's Watson, like in fact, way more. Your body's default mode is wellness. That's its home base. or, some of you may have heard of the word homeostasis. So your body is trying to do everything in its power to preserve this nice homeostasis, this wellness, to keep you thriving. And one of the major tools that your body has to keep you well is called your immune system. And your immune system is really a complex network of cells and organs that work together to defend your body against infection. And some of the main parts of the immune system are white blood cells, antibodies, the complement system, the lymphatic system, your spleen, bone marrow, and your thymus. So maybe some of those terms or organs or systems you've heard of before, maybe some of them you haven't. But again, it's a system, and it's very complex, and it's all over your body. So it's really, really cool. And another thing that I think is kind of interesting that with this system is that unlike some other systems in your body, like, you can hear and feel your heart beating, so it's working, but your immune system is silent. So even though we're much less aware of our immune system, it is working 24/7, 365 to protect us from thousands of potentially deadly attacks every single day. Isn't that crazy? It's something you don't even notice and maybe you take for granted for. But let me start by showing you the different lines of defense and how they're used by the immune system to protect us. So we have the first line of defense, and this is, in biology's terms, your innate immunity. And this is really a range of protective mechanisms that we are all born with. Okay, so at birth, we have this innate immunity. And it provides really actual non-specific protection against various pathogens like viruses and bacteria and fungi and protozoans and worms and all that fun stuff. And a number of defense mechanisms really serve under this innate immune system. And this includes physical barriers like your skin. There's also chemical barriers such as an antimicrobial protein that can harm and destroy invaders. And then there's also cells that will actually attack those foreign invaders and body cells that are harboring infectious agents. So there's a lot going on in this innate immune system. And before we move on to the second line of defense, let's delve a little bit deeper into this first line of defense. So protective barriers, skin, it's your external barrier, and it's made from layers of cells that serve as a protective barrier to infection. So your skin isn't just there to make you look beautiful and glowing, and you all do, everyone on this call is beautiful and glowing. However, your skin is definitely serving a better purpose than just that. So, and it not only just acts as kind of a protective barrier to keep invaders out, but it actually also secretes fatty acids and enzymes. So it's an organ, and it's alive, and it's working for you. And it's actually the fatty acid oleic acid that can kill certain bacteria, while the enzyme lysozyme can break down the outer wall of certain bacteria. So pretty cool stuff. But then aside from our skin, we also have these internal mucous membranes that are kind of similar to how skin behaves, but they're the linings of our respiratory, our GI tract, our genitourinary tract, and this provides protective barrier of cells that are constantly being renewed. And these membranes also, they can trap particles to prevent them from attacking and attaching. Another really crucial aspect of the innate immunity is those chemical barriers that I was talking about. So if microbes do get in, if they somehow penetrate that first layer of defense, the skin, the protective barriers, they can enter internal tissues. So once they're there, then they will encounter a variety of chemical substances that will attempt to prevent their growth. And there are many mechanisms in cells by which chemicals work to harm or destroy invaders. And these processes go kind of way beyond the scope of what we're going to discuss tonight, and possibly even way beyond the scope of what I even know. I'd have to probably pull in Ted for some of these. My husband Ted, who's also very scientific little human. But just know that these systems are continually on the lookout for foreign invaders, and they are ready to strike at any time. So early induced responses are really the final process of the innate immune system. So again, that first line of defense that we're all born with. And many of you are familiar with this response, but may have only heard of the dangers that it can pose. Like, have you heard of the term inflammation? Right? It's kind of been demonized, that term, but inflammation is actually part of our natural body's response to help protect us. Inflammation can eliminate infection or really just hold it in check until a more specific, we'll get to this in a minute, the acquired immune responses have time to develop. So infection often can result in tissue damage, which may trigger an inflammatory response. And signs of inflammation are, could be pain, swelling, redness, heat, heat at that site, or maybe even fever. And these are, induced by chemicals released by these cells, specialized cells called macrophages. So inflammation, again, is really just a healthy protective immune response. However, chronic inflammation, so inflammation that doesn't go away, if that exists in the body, then chronic disease can develop. And that's a whole nother topic for another day. Chronic inflammation is definitely something that I have been working with for years. I know some of you on this call too probably have your own experiences of that. And it's a nasty, nasty thing, but we'll save that fun topic for another day. So the second line of defense, okay, so we just went through that whole first line. Now we're getting into that second line of defense and how you can imagine your immune system operating if we're kind of comparing it to the military. That first line of defense is really the Marines, right? So they're going out and they're that first line of defense trying to protect us. And now this second line of defense is really those special forces, right? So when things start to get a little bit hairier and we need some extra support, now we bring in the special forces. Okay, so this is your acquired immunity. So acquired means you're not born with this form of immunity. It's actually acquired through exposure to pathogens. And this second line of defense is acquired from exposure to an infection or a disease, or maybe from another person's antibodies. So if you were a breastfed baby, maybe your mother had, passed her antibodies to certain illnesses through your mother's milk, and then you were able to acquire some protection that way. So really, really fascinating stuff. Let's go a little bit more into this acquired immunity. So it's well established that people who contract certain diseases and survive generally do not catch those illnesses again. And this is made possible through the mechanisms of acquired immunity. So when your immune system is exposed to a certain pathogen, it learns it and it recognizes it, and it can make your immune system better equipped to fight off that specific germ next time you're exposed to it. So acquired immunity is dependent on the specialized white blood cells known as lymphocytes. And lymphocytes are the cells responsible for the body's ability to distinguish and react to almost an infinite number of different foreign substances. So incredible stuff. And lymphocytes originate from stem cells in the bone marrow. So that's why we mentioned bone marrow in the very beginning of this presentation. And they can travel and multiply in response to appropriate stimulation. So maybe you've heard of the term like T cells or B cells, and these are referring to different types of lymphocytes. So both T and B cells recognize and they help eliminate foreign molecules, but they kind of do so in different ways. And lymphocytes are distinguished from other cells by their capacity to recognize foreign molecules by means of receptor molecules. And sorry guys, this might be going like way back to high school biology. Some of you may know this stuff. Some of you, maybe you knew it and forgot it, and this is like a great refresher for you. But either way, you're just getting empowered with this information so that you feel really good and confident about what your body is capable of. So anyways, lymphocytes, they're able to recognize foreign molecules by means of a receptor molecule. And a receptor molecule is a special protein whose shape is designed to fit foreign molecules. So think of these molecules as like a lock and key kind of situation. So any foreign molecule that binds specifically to a receptor molecule is called an antigen. And antigens include molecules found on invading microorganisms such as viruses, bacteria, protozoans, fungi, as well as molecules located on the surface of foreign substances like pollen, dust, or transplanted tissue. If you're having, if you have an organ transplant or a graft, some kind of graft. So certain antigens can really induce, right, an immune response when they bind to a receptor molecule. And one of the many incredible abilities of the immune system is that it keeps a record of every microbe it has ever defeated. And this is what enables the immune system to recognize and destroy those microbes quickly if they enter the body again, later on in the future. So, and it really just destroys that microbe before it has a chance to multiply and kind of start to take over and make you feel really sick. However, there are some infections like the flu and the common cold that have to be fought many, many times. And this is because there are, different viruses or strains of the same type of virus. And these cause illnesses and like the same type of symptoms. So it seems like the same thing, but it's really not. So therefore, like catching the cold or the flu from one virus doesn't really give you immunity against the others. And that kind of goes with the flu shot too. When you get the flu shot, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because they're kind of just guessing what the strain is going to be. But it can mutate and become something different that your body has to adapt to as well. But anyways, record keeping is how we acquire immunity through vaccinations. So we're talking a lot about vaccinations and the race to find this COVID vaccine right now. So now you kind of know what this vaccine is going to do for you. It's going to help with the record keeping of your learned immunity so that if you come in contact with COVID-19, your body is able to quickly fight this thing off, and then hopefully you won't feel a thing, right? You won't even notice. But the immune system is basically triggered when you get the vaccine, is triggered by just a very small amount of the illness. And it allows your body to produce the antibodies against that virus, and then it enables that body to quickly launch the immune attack and then kill off the virus for future exposure. So that's where vaccines come into play. But all these other things are going on before the vaccine even gets going, which is incredible. So what we are exposed to dictates our acquired immunity, right? So for example, where we live, what vaccinations we have, what vaccinations were given to us at birth, our exposure to different environmental conditions. These all impact our ability to fight off various diseases. And this one's really interesting. Like if you've ever experienced allergies when visiting someplace new, I know for a fact, I used to have to go to Texas for training for one of my previous companies. And the first time I went, I was sick as a dog. I mean, I'd never been to Texas before. It was very humid, and there was just different plants and pollens and all kinds of things. It totally messed me up. And this is just due to, me not being exposed to things like that before, and my body kind of reacting to that. Just reacting to things that I wasn't familiar with before, having grown up in the Northeast. So it's pretty interesting. And I'm sure some of you have similar stories to that as well. So maybe next time you visit, you may not have the same reaction though. Maybe it's a little bit less and less and less every time you go visit that new place. So it's kind of interesting, something to take note of. And we can really thank our acquired immunity for that. But because we're all exposed to different pathogens, we all have a unique immune defense system. So this means that our immune systems really vary from person to person. So while we all have similar innate immune responses, right? We're all born with our innate first line of defense, such as our skin, right? We all have skin. Hopefully you guys all have skin, that'd be really, really creepy. You'd be ready for Halloween if you didn't. Uh, but our acquired immunity can be vastly different. So in fact, recent studies have found that our history and environment, like where we live and people that we've been exposed to and come in contact with, that is responsible from anywhere from 60 to 80% of the differences between individual immune systems. And then genetics will just account for the rest, which is a much smaller chunk. So really cool stuff. All right, now let's get into the fun stuff. So an overactive immune system. So this can result from a number of conditions, including allergies, all the way up to my personal favorite. Well, maybe not favorite, but something that's near and dear to my heart and something that I have a lot of experience with personally is autoimmune diseases. So allergic diseases include allergies to food, could be medications, it could be insects, stinging insects like a bee sting, anaphylaxis, hay fever, sinus infections, asthma, hives, dermatitis, which is really just a fancy blanket term for any, kind of rash on your skin, and eczema. So these conditions result when the immune system just makes an overly strong result to allergens. And then autoimmune disease, this includes things like you might have heard of MS, multiple sclerosis, autoimmune thyroid disease, which is what I have. Another term for it is called Hashimoto's. Type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is actually an autoimmune disease. Systemic lupus, rheumatoid arthritis. So you've probably heard of some of these before, but this is when the immune system mounts a response against your normal components of your body. So really your immune system kind of turns on you and starts attacking your healthy tissue that's in your body. So it gets confused with what a foreign invader is and what your healthy tissue is. And that can cause this whole cascade of autoimmune, dysfunction. So now let's go the other way. So an underactive immune system. This is also known as immunodeficiency. And this is when your immune system doesn't function correctly, and it can make people really vulnerable to infections, and it can be really life-threatening and severe in some cases. Immunodeficiency can be inherited, and it can include conditions such as common variable immunodeficiency, CVID, X-linked severe combined immunodeficiency, XSCID, and complement deficiencies. So immunodeficiency, can also arise from medical treatment. So, it could be caused by another disease, such as HIV or AIDS, or even some types of cancer. So maybe a friend, who's immunodeficient as a result from maybe their cancer treatments or, something like that. I know this word has been kind of a hot word this year, trying to protect our elderly and the immunodeficient. So that's what that means. All right. So I feel like you guys endured my biology lesson. Thank you so much for humoring that. But now that you have a little bit more of an in-depth understanding of how your body is working to help you and protect you, let's now take a look at different ways you can strengthen your immune system. And this is critically important because yes, you can do certain things. You have things within your control that you can do that actually help bolster and help your immune system do a better job for you. And then there are things you can do where you're kind of working against yourself. So let's talk about the things you can do to help bolster things up. And this is really just due to the fact, well, let me start by saying this. I'm going to try and make this simple. However, your ability to boost immune function is very complex. In fact, we have just scratched the surface on some of this stuff, and it's continually understudied. And this is really just due to the fact that the immune system is a system. It requires balance and harmony among all of its parts. And the interconnectedness of this immune system is really super complex. So sometimes it can be hard to really pinpoint like where the issue is and what you can do to help yourself. So just be patient. And honor your body and honor the symptoms that are coming up for you. And then maybe try some of these things that I'm putting forward and see if that helps you at all. So let's take a look at some effects that lifestyle can do to help boost your immune system. So it has been well established that people who are malnourished are more vulnerable to infectious disease. And another group of individuals who are susceptible to micronutrient malnutrition is also the elderly. So this is why we're so concerned with this older population right now. And it's really because older people tend to eat less and they often have less variety in their diet. So, you might be kind of chuckling to yourself now thinking of maybe it's your parents or maybe it's your grandparents. If you go out to eat with them, they're just super picky, or like they eat the same thing or order the same thing every freaking time. So they have no variety in their diet. And not a lot of variety can possibly lead to a lot of micronutrient deficiencies. So for example, deficiencies of zinc, selenium, iron, copper, folic acid, vitamin A, B6, vitamin C, vitamin E, all of these things that are just super, super critical for a functioning immune system that, if you're deficient in those, it may alter those responses. So if you suspect that your diet is not providing you with all of the micronutrient needs, I always like to encourage people to use diet first, because when you have a variety of foods, fruits and vegetables that you're eating on a daily basis, you're most likely getting, a good balance of all of these different micronutrients. However, if for some reason you can't, or you're still experiencing or you're still suspecting some micronutrient deficiencies, taking a daily multivitamin can help, or like maybe a specific mineral supplement that may help increase the power of your immune system. And then one other thing that I didn't mention yet was vitamin D. And so unfortunately, vitamin D is just one of those things that we can't easily get from our diet. We typically get it from the sun. So, for us folks that live in the Northeast, especially this time of year, fall, we're almost, turning back the clocks here soon. So it's going to be dark a lot of the portion of the day, and we're just not getting enough sunlight. So therefore, we're not getting enough vitamin D. And the reason why that's important is because vitamin D has its hand in all sorts of processes in your body. It's huge in terms of your immune function. It also acts as a hormone too. So a lot of people don't know that it's not just a vitamin, it also kind of acts as a hormone. It has a lot of different jobs in the body. So if you're deficient in vitamin D, it's super, super critical that you supplement with that. I personally supplement with it, especially in the winter. So, and I'm not a doctor, do your own research, but that's just my 2 cents on that. So, aside from nutrition, really not only will your immune system benefit, but every part of your body will function better with some more of these tips. So I don't have them listed on the slide, but I'm just going to read through some because a lot of them are no-brainers, and I know you guys are smart. So the first one, don't smoke. don't smoke, right? We all know the science behind that. We know the facts now. Just don't do it. Eat a diet high in fruits and vegetables, right? So we just went into diet, and I'm going to say it again. We need to eat more fruits and vegetables, especially in America. If you guys have heard of the term standard American diet or the SAD diet, right? We just eat a lot of meat and bread and cheese, and that's pretty much it, right? Um, and, it makes me wonder, and, uh, COVID really hit the US pretty damn hard, right? Like our numbers are far beyond anybody else's. Of course, we did not have as good of a response from our political bodies that we should have, and the support that we needed to really have a better response to maintain this virus. But part of me wonders, does it have to do with our diet and how sick we are as Americans? Because look at our healthcare system. I mean, we have just millions of people that are suffering from chronic conditions, type 2 diabetes and heart conditions and all of these things. And it's because our diet is so nutrient poor. And we really don't focus on fruits and vegetables. Like if you turn on the TV and there's a food advertisement, it's probably for a cheeseburger at McDonald's. It's not for a kale salad, right? So it's constantly in our face, this standard American diet. And I just have to pause there, and I can't help but wonder if that has something to do with why our numbers are so freaking crazy compared to other countries, like when you look at Europe. So I'll end my spiel on that. The next one is regular exercise. Okay, so this is another one of my favorite ones. Most of you know that I'm a fitness instructor at a local boutique gym. It's called Innate. Great place. I have met some of my best friends there, just an awesome supportive community where we get together and sweat and feel really good and move our bodies. So any way that you like to get your regular exercise in, whether that be walking or doing some yoga or going to the gym or, doing some virtual classes nowadays, just try and get that in. There's some real science behind that. And I'll kind of briefly explain it. And basically, they've done studies where it shows that regular exercise actually changes your gut microbiome. And the reason why that's good is because actually 70% of your immune system lives in your gut. So that's a huge percentage. And if you have dysbiosis or a lot of bad bugs in your gut, then your immune system is not functioning properly. But what fruits and vegetables and exercise will do is encourage those good guys to thrive and kind of outnumber those bad guys. So it's really helping to bolster that immune system scientifically. It's really quite profound. Again, just maintaining healthy weight. There have been a lot of studies that kind of correlate disease with belly fat specifically. So if you have fat around your midsection, that is a high correlation or probability that you could contract disease XYZ, right? So there's lots of different studies on that. So just maintaining a nice healthy weight for you is definitely ideal. If you do drink alcohol, which, like I'm currently not drinking alcohol right now. I'm an expecting mama, but I do miss my glass of wine to just kind of unwind. So I totally get it if you are a bit of a drinker, but please do only drink in moderation, and we'll just leave it at that, right? I'm not trying to take the fun away from you guys. I just want you to be measured about it. So the next one is critically important. And this is getting adequate sleep. And this is something, other than micronutrients, is another thing that Americans are seriously deficient in, and it's good quality sleep. We live in a culture that's just go, 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 and take on this, take on that, take on this. We have too many things going on. And then, we're not getting enough sleep at night. We're not able to rest and recharge. And the reason why that's important is because your body actually can't heal or fight off disease until it's in that rest and digest mode. And that ultimate rest and digest mode is when you're sleeping and getting good quality sleep. So if you suspect that you're not getting enough sleep, then just, look at, your morning routine or your bedtime routine and make some adjustments. Get an extra 30 minutes, an extra hour. It's going to do wonders for your immune system. And again, another one here is taking steps to avoid infection. So we are pros at this year, right? Wash your hands frequently for at least 20 seconds, use soap and water. For us now, we're wearing masks in public. Again, just kind of adding a little bit more to that physical barrier. Using hand sanitizer, and then of course social distancing, just kind of physically distancing yourself from other people. So that can also be, just an easy way to help prevent infection. And the last one, we're going to go into a little bit more detail, and this is all around minimizing stress. And stress is another big one, right? Another big one for our culture. And it kind of goes hand in hand with not getting enough sleep. We are just pushed to our limits nowadays. Our schedules are just so busy and packed. I kind of say, I'm going to say this lightly because I know a lot of people's lives have been tremendously affected by COVID-19. But one of the blessings in disguise is it's kind of forced us to slow down, especially with our like packed social calendars and all these demands on us to be in like 7 places at once. Like it's just insane, and it's literally at an all-time high. It's the highest amount of stress that we've ever seen people take on in history. Just the demands and the burdens at work, and how much you're expected to work, and then you're expected to be the super mom, and then you're expected to go to everybody's birthday, and it's just there's just so much that we're expected to do now, and there's no time for us. There's no time to recover. There's no time to sleep. There's no time for self-care. And this stress becomes a chronic stress. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, and why that's definitely not a good thing. But aside from that, other stressors such as financial burdens, and just general anxiety. Like a lot of us have experienced extreme anxiety symptoms from this year, just wondering what's going to happen, with this election hanging over our head. So there's a lot of things going on. And this can really contribute to what I call chronic stress. And so when we experience stress, there are hormones that are released into the body, and that hormone is called cortisol. And this works just like inflammation, right? A little bit of inflammation is good because it's protecting you, right? A little bit of cortisol, a little bit of stress is good, and it's helpful, especially when you're in danger and you need to turn on your fight or flight, response, and then run and flee to safety. However, too much stress, or when you're under constant stress, these hormones remain present throughout the day or the week or the year. And what happens is that starts to really just break down your body. When you have chronic levels of cortisol, you're diverting blood away from your gut and into your extremities, right? So you can run away from the bear. And when you do that, your gut isn't getting nutrients. And when your gut isn't getting nutrients, it can't function properly. And like I said, 70% of your immune system is in your gut. So if you're not functioning properly because you're under chronic stress, hey, that could have something to do with it, right? You've got to get back into that rest and digest mode. It's just critically important. And again, chronic stress can lead to just a never-ending list of diseases and illnesses. It ranges from depression all the way to heart attack. Like, I'm serious. Stress can do some serious damage. And during your stress response, your immune system may or may not even be, like, as far as inhibited. It's just not going to work as well for you when you're under stress. So, really regularly having a self-care practice that's going to help you reduce stress will not only be beneficial to your overall health, but your general immunity as well. So, everybody's a little bit different. I'll kind of give you guys some examples of things that I like to do in my regular practice to reduce stress. So exercise, again, the exercise is coming up again. I like to meditate. I like to do yoga. I like to take, a bubble bath with some lavender and Epsom salt. I like to go get a massage. So those are just, some great ideas. And I'm sure everybody has kind of their own way about doing it. I have one client who she is like a beautiful artist, and she will draw or paint whenever she feels stressed. So that's another great outlet. So there's lots of ways that you can kind of manage the stress in your life, but you have to make time for it, and that's not easy. Making all of these changes to your lifestyle, that kind of brings me towards the end of this presentation. Making all those changes to your lifestyle, it's easy for me to rattle them off and tell you how important it is, but it's way easier, it's way easier said than done, right? Actually making those changes can be hard. It's interrupting your status quo, and you've got to kind of incorporate a new routine in your life, and maybe that means letting go of some other things, which can be hard. So that's what I do as a health coach. I work one-on-one with people to help implement some of these strategies and help them kind of work through these changes physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of those good things. But I'm also going to link for you guys all of the resources that I used in referring to today's event. So things like from Healthline, NHS, Harvard, Encyclopedia Britannica, like you'll have all of those resources if you kind of want to fact check me or just go a little bit deeper into some of the things that we talked about today. Okay, so you'll get the presentation recording as well as all of these resources. I really just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join me for this experience. The topic of immunity is truly vital to your health. And really, the more we're empowered and that we know how our body works, the better equipped we are to defend ourselves from disease. So, again, if you think of any other questions in the future, please contact me. My email is gracefullyholistic@gmail.com. So if anything comes up for you later that you popped into your head and you want a little bit of help with, please feel free to reach out. I'm always available. And if you'd like to really dive a little bit deeper and learn more about your health, you can also schedule a consultation with me, and we can learn more about kind of your specific health goals and what you're needing help with.